When we picture the Arctic, we usually imagine a quiet, untouched expanse of white. But today, if you stand on the edge of the polar ice cap, you're much more likely to hear the deafening roar of a nuclear-powered steel hull shattering the frozen surface. This is the last massive, unpartitioned territory on Earth. Because no single nation owns the North Pole, a sprawling geographic vacuum sits right at the top of the globe. Look at the scale of this Russian state-owned icebreaker. It represents a shadow war currently playing out in the ice. Russia is aggressively locking down northern sea routes. The United States is pushing back through NATO alliances, and China is buying its way to the table with heavy infrastructure investments. To understand who is positioned to win this modern race for resources and logistics, we have to look backward. We need to examine the centuries-old obsession that drove humanity to survive the extreme north in the first place. The current friction in the ice is the result of a century-long escalation. We are watching a historical transition, the move from a desperate struggle to survive the elements to a strategic race for the resources and trade routes of the 21st century. The very first human incursions into the high Arctic were driven by myth. Early mapmakers and explorers were obsessed with finding rumored continents hidden in the ice, like the phantom Sannikov land. Surviving these trips required a specific brand of fanaticism. Men willingly walked into temperatures that could freeze exposed skin in minutes, facing near-certain starvation just to map a blank space on a globe. Over time, that raw desire for discovery became a bitter nationalistic rivalry. The ultimate prize was planting a flag squarely at the North Pole. In 1909, American explorer Robert Peary claimed to have done exactly that. Almost simultaneously, another American, Frederick Cook, claimed he had reached the pole a year earlier. The resulting dispute highlighted a major problem. Early Arctic exploration was chaotic, isolated, and incredibly difficult to verify with hard proof. During this period, explorers fought the ice itself. Success meant surviving the elements long enough to stake a geographic claim. Eventually, lone adventurers were replaced by vast state-sponsored mapping campaigns. The early Russian Empire, led by figures like Vitus Bering, began systematically charting the coastlines to formalize their territory. By the 20th century, the Soviet Union institutionalized these missions. These were formal operations led by state representatives, utilizing military logistics and direct government funding to secure the North. The strategy then shifted. Nations realized that visiting the ice occasionally offered no real control. They needed continuous physical presence. Look at this structure. This is the Soviet Union's North Pole 1 drifting station, erected in 1937. Along with massive logistical efforts like the Chelyuskin expedition, these heavy winter camps proved humans could maintain a foothold directly on the raw, shifting sea ice. By continuously occupying these frozen camps, governments turned an ambiguous white expanse into actionable national borders. The stakes escalated dramatically during World War II. As seen in this photograph, the Arctic Ocean became an active combat zone, with warships and aircraft clashing over icy waters as Nazi Germany pushed to disrupt Allied supply lines. This map shows the terrifying geographic reality of the Cold War. If you look at an overhead globe projection, the Arctic Circle provides the absolute shortest possible route for a nuclear bomber or missile traveling between the United States and the Soviet Union. To monitor that vulnerability, both superpowers poured billions into the ice. They built expansive early warning radar stations and permanent military bases designed to survive the harshest winters on Earth while watching the skies. While the surface was heavily monitored, a hidden front opened up below. Submarines, like the USS Nautilus pictured here, began navigating directly beneath the polar ice caps, carrying stealth nuclear payloads right up to the opponent's back door. By the late 20th century, the initial struggle against extreme cold had faded into the background. The Arctic had become a heavily armed, multi-layered standoff between rival superpowers. The fall of the Soviet Union brought a brief, optimistic pause to the tension. Military presence decreased, and nations formed the Arctic Council, a cooperative forum bringing together regional diplomats and indigenous representatives to manage the ice peacefully. That diplomatic peace is now fracturing. As global temperatures rise, the polar ice is steadily melting away. exposing a massive, highly lucrative economic frontier that was previously locked beneath the freeze. This map highlights the primary new prize. Compared to traditional paths through the Suez Canal, the newly accessible Northern Sea Route drastically cuts down global transit times between Asia and Europe. Right beneath those shipping lanes lie vast, untapped economic reserves. The retreating ice provides access to billions of barrels of oil, natural gas, and rare earth minerals. The wooden flags planted by early explorers and the subterranean nuclear standoffs of the Cold War are now secondary. Today's powers are scrambling for control of fiber optic data cables, shipping logistics, and raw material extraction. Ownership of the modern Arctic carries with it the power to dictate global trade routes, manage the world's last energy reserves, and project influence over the coming century.